I'm looking at Chelsea now and I'm starting to get very worried about how things are going at the club. Now, we've always known for the past few years that things at the top, like at the board, are not looking great. But now it's starting to chip into the results that we're seeing and it's not looking very good. This is now the fourth loss in a row. Four losses on the bounce, and some of these losses are very embarrassing. In fact, the most decent scoreline they've lost in the last four games has been 1-0, but we've seen 5-2, we've seen 3-0, and we've seen 3-0 again. It's not looking very good. And today, Robert Sánchez made a lot of mistakes. One of them ended up leading to a goal. The defending when there were counter attacks was just shocking, absolutely shocking from Chelsea. And I'm looking at Liam Rosenior, and I think he also kind of looks like he's out of ideas, and I'm not entirely sure if the players still believe in this man. I don't think there's anything too much to worry about in terms of the connection to the coach, but I do think that he looks like he might be out of ideas as well. And I keep saying it that I think Chelsea need to sign some players that are experienced, one, and players that you can rely on as well. And right now, I think this is beginning to cost them because when one of their most experienced players like Reece James is injured, it gives them even less hope to see how they can continue to get good results. And it looks like they're just not looking very good for this top four race, and they may have to settle for a Europa League place or a Conference League place, just like my wonderful team Liverpool. But we'll get to that on another day. First and foremost, I'm going to talk about Sanchez, and I've said this a number of times. I see Sanchez as a good shot stopper. He can be very good on his day, but he made two big mistakes today, and one of them led to a goal. The first one he made was very early in the game where he had the ball, and he took too much time, and Beto came on and basically almost got the ball away from him. And before he could shoot, Sanchez just made a very good touch to keep it away from his leg from shooting. And that was the first warning sign. And it just looks like there's a mistake in Sanchez. Like I said, he's a good goalkeeper on his day. But you can guarantee that one time every 5 games, he's going to make a mistake. Sometimes it takes less than 5 games. There's just going to be one sort of mistake that you see with Sanchez. And I think to myself that if this is a club, and this is something that I question about Chelsea, do they really want to win trophies, or are they too focused on making profits? But I will speak about that later on. But the point I'm trying to make is this is your number one goalkeeper, and he is making mistakes twice in a game. Twice in a game. And this is not the first time he has made more than one mistake in a game. So as much as he's a good shot stopper, he is open to making mistakes. Like at the end of the day, everybody's going to make a mistake one day. There's no goalkeeper that didn't make a mistake. But Sanchez makes mistakes regularly. And goalkeepers are not necessarily going to be very easily forgiven if they make mistakes. So when you're making multiple mistakes in one season, and this was the same thing we had last season, I'm like, what more do you need? Like, I was shocked with the fact that they didn't get a replacement for Sanchez, or at least somebody to compete with him, to make him race his game. So when I'm seeing mistakes like this, and the second one that just led into the goal, like he was trying to save it and it literally just went past his legs and into the net. These are the little things, these are the little margins that go a long way, because let's say he saved the ball, it will still be 1-0. And maybe, just maybe, not with the way they played today, Chelsea could have had a sniff at the end of the game to try and get a point or something. So when you go 2 down and then you're away, and it's just because of a silly mistake. These are the little problems that you have with goalkeepers. So I think the first thing Chelsea need to do for when the transfer window opens is to get a new goalkeeper. I don't think this works. This cannot work sustainably for the next few months or years. Like, it's just not sensible. Now, another thing I'm going to talk about is experience. And I did a bit of research before coming to record this video, and one of the things I did was try to remember one of the recent players that has experience. And first and foremost, I think right now in the Chelsea team, there are only 2 or 3 players I can say they have experience. And those ones are Enzo Fernandez. But Enzo Fernandez is also very young. And the experience, in quote, that he has is from the World Cup, winning the World Cup with Argentina. But that was one tournament, and he had elite players around him. Another player I can say is Reece James, and that's simply because he's been at this club for a long time and he has won a big trophy like the Champions League. And the next player I can think of is Cole Palmer. And Cole Palmer was never really like the biggest player or the best player when he was at Man City. He was a wonderful talent, but he wanted to play more games, and that's why he came here. And Cole Palmer is still relatively young. So apart from those players, who are the experienced players? Who are the leaders in the team that can, talk to the people around them and tell them, oh, I need you to stay composed. We need to stay calm. We need to make better decisions. This is how I want us to continue playing this game. We can. People who are reading the game and actually making right choices and leading the team with them, with the experience that they have. I think Chelsea lacks this. They really lack it. And the problem now is that it seems like they just want to get young players. And young players, at the end of the day, no matter how good you are, there's still the importance of experience. When players get older, they have to change, obviously, because of how the game is played. They understand the game a bit more. They've experienced it for a bit longer. And they make wiser decisions. They're not as rash with their choices. And I think this is one problem that I've seen Chelsea have. So altogether, I think this thing is just not working for them. And, you know, this is one thing that I have to say that I just think needs to be worked on. I will say that Beto's 2 goals were good. I think I should just talk quickly about Beto's goals. They were really good. The first one was a well-taken goal. You know, the second one as well, just really disappointing in my opinion in terms of the defending and all of that. But like I said, the first goal, like, it was a brilliant pass from Ghana. Like, amazing pass. In fact, it was a perfect pass and a perfect finish. So, Beto, you deserve an applause. Fantastic goal. And the second goal as well, you know, just pure power, and then Sanchez made a mess of it. But I will say that Ndiaye's goal, oh my goodness, this guy put it in the top corner of the net. Like, you cannot place a ball better in football than in the top corner like that. And in Nigeria, we always say, see where the guy hang ball. That's exactly what it was. Like, the guy put it at the edge of the net. I'm like, wow. There's no way Sanchez was saving that. So I think altogether, Everton's goals were really good. So, you know, I think he played really well in this one. But now I think when you look at the result of this game, 3-0, and, you know, just losing games here and there, and it's just not looking good. Even the last win was in extra time against Wrexham, who are not doing the best in the championship. Yes, they're in the, last time I checked, I think they were in the playoff positions, so I'll have to recheck and see if they're still there. But altogether, like, you should be, in fact, they're out of the playoff positions right now. So this is a team that objectively, like, they're not even in a position to make it to the Premier League next season. So that means they're objectively, on paper, worse than the worst team in the Premier League right now, because they're not even in a position to get into the Premier League. And Chelsea struggled to beat them. So these are the things I see here and there, and I just worry about in terms of Chelsea and the way they're looking. And ultimately, I think you have to look at Liam Rosenior. Now, this is one thing I will always say about coaches at Chelsea. You're bound to be sacked. It's just about when you get sacked. You know, the fact that they sacked a coach like Thomas Tuchel is all you need to know. It is all you need to know. And I think the biggest problem is most times it looks like the sacks for the good managers are because they don't agree with what the board is doing and they have issues with the club. And these are the little things I have problems with here and there. Like, at the end of the day, like, if you're in charge of the board, you have all the authority at the end of the day, but you do not have the experience that a coach has to make things work on the field. So, like, when you think about how any organization works, everybody has a different role to play. And when you start to think that you know everything, you will end up costing your whole organization. For instance, I'm trying to use an example here. If you own a restaurant, right, the accountant will probably not be the best cook, and the cook will probably not be the best accountant. So know your role and do your role. And that's why I think there's a problem when you're telling certain players, this is how long I want you to play. This is how much time I need you to give this player. Do not sub this player and sub this player on and off. You are messing with the game. And that's why Maresca was quick to leave, because he's like, bro, I'm still the man in charge. I need to make the decisions on the field. And at the end of the day, if I can't even make the decisions on the field and you're not giving me the players I want, you're not doing this and that, why should I stay? And I think that's exactly why they got Liam Rosenior. Now, no disrespect to Rosenior, I think he could be a good coach when the time comes. I mean, I don't think he's a bad coach, but I just don't think he's ready for this kind of job. And I think it's such a very interesting environment where you don't have many opportunities to make mistakes. Chelsea will sack you if you mess up. That's one thing I've seen about Chelsea. Yes, they've been a bit more... No, actually, when you think about it, they've not even been that, lenient since Todd Bowley took over and Blue Coat took over. So, I mean, I just think it's a matter of time if he doesn't get the results right. Like, as much as I still think that they're prioritizing the business side over the performances, you have to get to a point where you need to look at the performances. And is Liam Rosenior really the best option for the job? I don't think he is. I never thought he was. I think it was just all about convenience, because he works with the same group of people in the same bracket of, the Blue Co organization. So I'm starting to think, like, you can't be losing 4 games in a row. and think you are safe. There's a lot of trouble. There's a lot in terms of how much they need to do. I think they still have some tough games. If Liverpool decide to turn up, then Chelsea still have to play Liverpool. They still have to play, I believe they play Manchester United. I still believe they play against Man City as well. So they're quite some tough games for them. And the fact that they just lost when they had an opportunity to leapfrog Liverpool after Liverpool also lost. These are the little things here and there. Do you really want the Champions League and you're losing matches like this? So ultimately, I do think that at the end of the day, there's a lot that Chelsea need to look at. What is the structure? What are we trying to do? Like, this whole thing about getting profits over getting trophies. Like, I'm not saying that they're saying that directly, but you can just tell from body language that it's almost like they're looking for how to make more money. They're treating it a bit like a business and not necessarily like a football club, which is still a business. But I think, the fans are suffering this. The fans are unhappy. The results are not good. And you can see that the priorities are elsewhere. You know that there are problems on this side of the field or that side of the field, and you make mistakes by not signing certain players. You had the opportunity to sign Victor Osimhen and you signed Liam Delap. Why? Why? Because you want a young player that will grow and try and play better football. It makes no sense. When you could have a player like Victor Osimhen who finish a lot more chances, then why are you not signing him? Why are you not signing a better goalkeeper? Why are you not signing some extra midfielders who have the experience and are going towards their peak, maybe like 26, 27? Because you have a rule in your head where you can't sign players who are older than a certain age. At the end of the day, how much experience do they have and how much can they actually offer your team apart from the skill itself and not the mental side of the game? So these are the things I think Chelsea need to think about in general. I think there's a lot for them to think about. I think there's a lot for them to improve, and I fully understand any Chelsea fan who's frustrated and wants a change with the board. I think that's ultimately going to be the fastest way to change. But if not, it's going to be a long journey for Chelsea, and I genuinely feel bad for the fans. So that's it for this video. Make sure you share with a friend if you like the content. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think in terms of this Chelsea situation. And I would love for you to like the video and subscribe. We're on the road to 400 subscribers, and I'll really appreciate it if you are one of them. So before you leave, make sure you watch one of these videos, and I'll see you guys there. Cheers.